How did ancient humans tell time without clocks? You're about to discover something that will completely change how you think about time itself. Right now, you probably think you need a watch or your phone to know what time it is. But what if I told you that humans have been keeping perfect track of time for thousands of years without a single battery or digital display? And more than that, some of their methods were so accurate that we still use them today. This is the story of how our ancestors became masters of time. Let's start with the most obvious answer that probably just popped into your head, the sun. But here's where it gets interesting. Ancient humans didn't just look up and guess. They engineered some of the most sophisticated time tracking systems ever created, all based on shadows. The sundial seems simple, right? A stick in the ground casts a shadow as the sun moves. But the ancient Egyptians took this concept and perfected it around 1500 BC. They created elaborate stone sundials with precisely marked hours. The genius part, they understood that the sun moves at a consistent pace, 15 degrees per hour. They could tell time down to the quarter hour with nothing but a carved piece of stone. But here's the plot twist. Sundials only work during the day. What did ancient humans do when the sun went down? This is where things get wild. They looked up. The stars became humanity's nighttime clock. And I'm not talking about just staring randomly at the sky. Ancient astronomers, particularly the Egyptians and Babylonians, mapped the heavens with incredible precision. They identified which stars rose and set at specific times of year. In Egypt, they used something called deacon stars, 36 stars that would appear in sequence throughout the night. By tracking which decans were visible, they could tell you not just the hour, but also which time of year it was. The Polynesians took this even further. They could navigate thousands of miles across the ocean using star positions to track time and location simultaneously. No instruments, no technology, pure knowledge and observation. But what if the sky was cloudy? Ancient humans had an answer for that too. Water clocks, called clepsydras, first appeared in Egypt around 1500 BC. Here's the brilliant part. Water flows at a consistent rate. If you mark a container with precise measurements, you can watch the water level drop and know exactly how much time has passed. The Babylonians, Egyptians, and Greeks all refined these devices. Some became incredibly complex, with gears and mechanisms that could measure time with remarkable accuracy. The oldest known clepsydra still exists today. It's nearly 4,000 years old, and it still works. But here's something even more ingenious. Ancient humans used their own bodies to measure time. Your pulse is a clock. It beats at roughly 60 to 100 times per minute, depending on your health and fitness. Doctors in ancient China and India would count heartbeats to measure time and even diagnose illnesses. One heartbeat cycle roughly equals 1 second. Before stopwatches, athletes and physicians relied on pulse timing. It was accurate enough for medical procedures, for athletic training, and for everyday life. Ancient humans also understood rhythmic cycles. They knew that certain activities took predictable amounts of time. A meal took about as long as it took to cook grain. A journey between two villages took about as long as the sun to move across a certain portion of the sky. These aren't precise, but they worked. Now, here's where it gets really clever. The ancient Romans invented the horologium, a massive structure that combined multiple timekeeping methods. It had sundials, water clocks, and mechanical elements. Some historians believe the Tower of the Winds in Athens, built around 100 BC, was one of the most sophisticated timekeeping devices of the ancient world. It combined mechanical gears with water flow, and it's still standing today. Let me tell you about something that might blow your mind, the candle clock. Around 500 AD, the Chinese created clocks made of wax that burned at a consistent rate. They marked the candle into sections. As each section burned, you'd know that a specific amount of time had passed. Some were even more elaborate, with burning incense that would trigger mechanical bells. But there's an even older method that almost nobody talks about, and it's so simple that most people miss it. Sand timers, or hourglasses, appeared around the 11th century, probably in Venice. But the concept is so obvious in hindsight that ancient humans definitely had some version of it. They understood that sand flows at a predictable rate. Fill a glass, flip it, and watch the sand fall. When it's empty, a certain amount of time has passed. The genius of all these methods is that they work on the same principle. Find something that changes at a constant, predictable rate, and measure time by how much it changes. And here's the mind-bending part. These ancient methods weren't just accurate, some were more reliable than early mechanical clocks. A well-maintained Egyptian water clock could keep time to within a few minutes per day. Early pendulum clocks weren't that accurate. Ancient humans beat medieval technology. Why did ancient humans care so much about time? Because time is power. If you could predict when the Nile would flood, you could prepare. If you could predict the seasons, you could plant at the right time. If you could measure hours during work, you could fairly compensate workers. Time created civilization. And here's something that should humble you. If we took away your phone and your watch right now, you'd be lost. Ancient humans had no such luxury. They had to read the sky, understand the stars, and engineer mechanical devices using nothing but stone and water. They had to trust their observations and their knowledge. Next time you check the time on your phone, remember this. You're part of an unbroken chain of human innovation that stretches back thousands of years. The people who came before us were obsessed with time because they understood something fundamental that we've forgotten. Time is the only thing we can't get back. They built their tools to respect that, and that's exactly why their methods still inspire modern science today.